My sweet and caring girlfriend turned into a gold digger when I made her my fiancé, but she forgot we're not married yet, so now she can dig in a dumpster after I make her single. Posted by you/glittering_trifle421. I, 32M, recently proposed to my girlfriend of 2 years, Sharon, 30F, about a month and a half ago. Ever since the ring went on her finger, it feels like her attitude and behavior have completely changed. While we were dating, we appeared to be exceptionally compatible, and it seemed we shared common beliefs and morals. 7 weeks ago, I proposed, and she said yes. I felt like it was the happiest moment for both of us. But less than a week later, her attitude seemed to completely change. I thought I knew all her friends, but one day I came home to find 6 women I had never seen before, and Sharon introduced me to them. I was curious why I was only just meeting them, especially since I had already met Sharon's 2 best friends, Michelle and Octavia, neither of whom were present, over a year and a half ago. Sharon said she wanted to make sure we were a sure thing before introducing me to her inner circle. I found this strange, not to mention it was a weeknight, and they were quickly draining my wine rack. Sharon still had her own place, but she stayed with me so often that she practically lived here. Still, I found it incredibly rude when they left, leaving behind 4 empty bottles of rosé. I tried to talk to Sharon about having uninvited guests on weeknights, but she dismissed my concern very flippantly, more like she brushed me off. In the following weeks, Sharon went out with the girls several times. When she brought them to my place, twice without notice, and once with notice to appease me, her words, they all treated me like a butler, shaking their empty wine glasses at me for refills. After the 4th time, I made it clear that I would be getting a locked wine rack. Sharon just called me no fun after that. But it gets worse. Sharon decided that me and the girls got off on the wrong foot and suggested we have dinner together at a nice restaurant. So, I went, but it wasn't great. The 6 of them kept prodding me about my life, my house, and my career but deflected every question I asked in return. It got especially bad later that night when they started discussing modern relationships and jealousy. One of them brought up some key points about relationships that I thought Sharon and I were already on the same page about, specifically, what ifs regarding polyamory and being friends with exes. To my shock, Sharon said we shouldn't be too hasty in making decisions on these matters. This was a complete 180 from how she had expressed herself just a month earlier, when she was vehemently against keeping ex-partners in a friend circle and was staunchly monogamous. The worst part came when the bill arrived. Sharon announced that it should be split together and slid the check over to me. I told her she couldn't be serious, and we got into a bit of an argument. I ended it by putting down my portion in cash and walking out, leaving them to figure out the rest of the bill. In the days that followed, Sharon kept calling me toxic and fragile. However, every time I tried to address the issue, she would apologize and say she was just stressed at work. It's crazy, we haven't even started planning the wedding yet. The worst part happened this Monday. While I was at work, I got a Nest doorbell alert and checked to see Sharon and one of her 6 new friends arriving at my place, going inside, and then leaving with my golf clubs. This set was a gift from my father, and it was quite expensive, so the fact that Sharon lent it out without my permission really pissed me off. I immediately called Sharon and told her and her friend to return the clubs. Sharon tried to gaslight me by saying, "But you promised to lend the clubs to her boyfriend, remember?" I told her that the cost of the clubs made this a serious issue, and that she and her friend had 1 hour to return them or I would call the police. Sharon kept insisting that she had my permission, but I told her to cut the crap. Less than 45 minutes later, I got another notification of Sharon and her friend coming back with the clubs, going inside, and leaving them. On the way out, her friend even flipped off the Nest doorbell. When I got home, I saw that Sharon's friend had literally just tossed the clubs and bag onto the living room floor. Sharon tried to talk to me again about my supposed toxicity, but I told her to cut the crap. I said that if I had known this was how she truly was, I would have never proposed. That seemed to freak her out, and she once again insisted that she was just stressed from work, but by that point, I wasn't buying it anymore. I told her to return the ring and her key, and that we would talk about our relationship this weekend. She cried and begged me not to cancel the engagement, insisting it was just stress, but I stood firm and told her we would discuss it over the weekend. She eventually relented but only gave me back the key. After she left, I had my house rekeyed just to be safe. Since then, Sharon has been sending me constant texts filled with love and apologies, saying she got swept up and only wanted to show me off to her close friends. But I'm just not buying it. Those same close friends have been texting me daily, calling me toxic and fragile, saying they knew I wasn't man enough for Sharon or secure enough to share her with friends. A few of my own friends, who have known Sharon throughout the 2 years we were dating, are shocked by how quickly she seemed to turn into someone else. They think there must be something I'm missing or that I might have left something out. They've suggested I must have said or done something to trigger her friend's behavior and that I must have been the one in the wrong somewhere along the way. I don't know, it's a lot to take in from all directions right now. Update 3 days later. Sharon has been gone for about an hour now, and the breakup is official. I have the ring back. I talked to Michelle via Facebook, and she told me that she and Octavia are cousins of Sharon. Michelle also mentioned that she knew the 6 and didn't care for them, but she didn't say much more beyond that. I've met Sharon's parents, and they seem to like me, though the topic of Michelle and Octavia never came up when I was around them. Luckily, none of our finances were intertwined yet, though we had planned to do that later this month, which obviously won't happen now. I invited 3 of our mutual friends, Casey, John, and Mike, to be here when Sharon got here. Sharon showed up and was surprised to see we had company. I said they were here for both of our sakes. Sharon wanted to phone 3 of the 6 to come over to even things out and I refused, and I used the club theft as a reason. Sharon tried to deflect, but I wasn't having it. I pointed out that, over the last month, her friends dropping by had cost me nearly $500 in wine, and she hadn't made any attempt to reimburse me. I also reminded her about trying to stick me with the bill for an 8-person dinner without asking me first. She claimed again that she was just trying to show how great a guy I was, and then said she had clearly misjudged me and was disappointed in my attitude. I then asked her about the golf clubs. She tried gaslighting me again with, "You totally said it was okay, remember?" But I kept calling it BS. Mike chimed in, knowing the clubs were a gift from my dad and that I was highly protective of them, and also called BS. That's when Sharon shifted her attention to Mike and John, saying, "Hasn't he been getting forgetful lately? Don't you remember when he forgot that one date?" But neither of them was buying it. I finally told her to forget postponing the wedding or canceling the engagement. Our entire relationship would be over if she couldn't be honest with me. Sharon let out a long, exaggerated sigh, took off the ring, and dropped it on the coffee table. As she got up to leave, she said, "You're never going to find someone as good as me," and told me to send her stuff to her apartment. She left, and Casey, John, and Mike were completely stunned. All I could say was, "Believe me now?" I'm still utterly shocked and confused by Sharon's attitude. I'm sure the heartbreak will hit me soon, but right now, I just feel kind of numb.
Am I the asshole for walking in on my brother in the bathroom? I, F18, live with my parents and my older brother Max, M22. Max and I share a bathroom, but he has an interesting habit, shall we say. He uses the bathroom with the lights off and the door open. At first it was only late at night, which he claimed was because he doesn't want to ruin his sleep, which I guess I can understand. But it's grown beyond that, to the point where he just never turns the light on and never closes the door. I can't stress enough. There is no way to ever tell whether the bathroom is occupied or not by sight alone unless you see Max walk into it. I've asked him to please just turn the light on or close the door, so I don't risk walking in on him taking a dump. His response is that I should just knock before I go in. I think it's stupid of me to have to knock before walking into a bathroom whose lights are off and whose door is open. I talked to my parents about it, and they agree but say they can't force him to do anything. I took to knocking at first, since I don't want to see him on the toilet under any circumstances, but I talked to my boyfriend about it and his take is that I'm just reinforcing his behavior by knocking before going in. And to be honest, I agree with him. So I've stopped knocking. In my mind, an open door and a darkened bathroom means empty. I've never walked in on him intentionally, mind you, but I stopped caring about whether he might be in there. I've walked in on him a couple times, and he's raised a big stink, haha, about it, but I'm holding my ground. My parents have asked me to please just knock and not be petty, but I really feel justified here. Am I the asshole?
I decided, Jack, I'll kill myself on your 50th birthday. Helen looked up at me, smiling yet tears brimming in her beautiful blue eyes. My heart almost stopped with emotion. I bent down and kissed her softly, feeling her wet lashes quiver against my cheeks. Are you sure, Helen? You don't have to. You have so much life ahead of you, my darling heart. She shook her head. No, I've decided. It's my decision. You can't make me change my mind. But you're right. There's no point in continuing to live in this terrible world. I might as well go while I still have some of my looks and energy. And I will do it just as you please, as my birthday gift to you. Because, and she broke down sobbing, I just love you so much and I want to make you happy. I shuddered with joy. I felt all my life I had been working towards this moment, and nothing, not even the moment of her death, could make me happier. I have lost other girlfriends to suicide before, at least 3. I blame the school taking us to see the ballet Romeo and Juliet when I was 12. Honestly, Shakespeare should be banned from schools. That shit is too strong for unformed minds. While my classmates were sniggering about the outline of Romeo's bulging balls in his beige ballet tights, I was mesmerized by the vision of Juliet, raising herself on her knees and plunging the dagger in her heart. The blood, oh, the blood pouring off stage. The producer must have gone overboard. There was so much blood and I wanted to kneel and lap up every drop. I wanted beautiful girls to kill themselves, to bring them to a state where the agony of death was trivial compared to the pain of being alive. My first success was Lisa. Frankly, it was too easy. Actually, a kindness to her. Amazing the low self-esteem so many girls have. What happens to them? She was a pretty, intelligent girl, and yet her self-esteem was lower than hell's basement. I remember the desperate look in her eyes and that beam of pure gratitude when she realized I, a man, was seriously interested in her. She killed herself 6 months after we started dating, unable to resist my stream of negativity about her looks and the threat of me leaving her. She took the coward's way out, like most women, by overdosing on pills and booze. I wanted agony. As I grew older, I added environmental and genetic anxiety to the obvious negging about physical looks. Marissa was a tough nut, but once I got under her skin about the odds of getting cancer, she crumpled like used tissue paper. She walked into the ocean one morning and never came out. And now Helen, offering her suicide to me. I stroked her graying hair while turning over favorite scenarios in my mind as my 50th wasn't far off.
My 32F, Fiancé, 34M, won't sign our prenup, which was initially agreed upon and drafted 2 years ago. Update at the end. I have been with my fiancé for almost 5 years, engaged for 1.5 years. We're an interracial couple, me being from Canada and he from India. I finally have a triple-figure net worth, half of which I've made since we started dating. He has only a few thousand in savings. Since our relationship, we have always had similar incomes, with him currently making more. I am generally safer with my money, and he has lost a lot of his in poor investments. He has always planned to bring over his parents from India, who I met there recently, to live with us or nearby. I was uncomfortable with this idea initially, early on in our relationship. After meeting them, I feel more flexible about this, because we all got along fine while staying at their house for a few weeks. We all realize that I will be the one to pay the down payment for our first home, as I am the only one with savings. I will likely be equally financially responsible for his parents because he can't afford to provide for them by himself, and their only wealth is their house, which they intend to keep. 2 years ago, pre-engagement, I told my then boyfriend that I'd like us to have a cohabitation agreement because we were coming up to 2 years living together. This would also act as our prenup if we were to get married. I asked him if he'd be ok with that. He said yes. I included him in the drafts since he didn't want to get his own lawyer. When I gave the contract to him to read and sign, he wouldn't sign. Fast forward 2 years and it still isn't signed. I have tried explaining how it's important for me to protect myself, especially since I will be contributing the most financially to provide for us all. I am happy for him to get a lawyer and make amendments. I just want to know that in the worst case scenario, I won't continue to be financially responsible for all of them, or lose more than my fair share because he cannot support his parents. He knows I have witnessed many divorces, including my own parents. I'm a realist and want to be responsible. He feels like I don't trust him and that I must not truly love him if I'm thinking of finances. I understand that our opinions on this are somewhat cultural, but I think it's unfair for me to be flexible and willing to take all of this on without any security net if things go south. I was very resentful and anxious after the few failed attempts I made at having him sign/discussing it. I always left the conversations feeling selfish and immoral. I eventually gave up and have tried to let it go. We're 2 months away from our wedding now, and some of this worry and resentment is resurfacing. What will you suggest doing in this situation? He is otherwise a wonderful, kind man, and I do love him. UPDATED. Wow, I did not expect so many responses. Thank you. To clarify, we do currently split everything 50/50ths and would continue to do so. The exception being the down payment and any potential costs he and his parents can't cover, which I know is unfair. But his argument is that we would save on childcare. Yes, he sends part of his salary home to his parents. His parents would rent out part of their house in India and keep the other half. They could contribute this, but it still won't convert to much here. They both intend on getting part-time jobs here. Ideally, they would be in an in-law suite or duplex. I have made it clear that I don't want to share the same 4 walls when they are healthy enough to look after themselves. But who knows what we'll be able to afford? Prices in our city are insane. Yes, I meant 6-figure net worth. They are not as traditional as most families in India. They ensured their daughters received the exact same education as my partner, and they have similar jobs there. He's very generous when he can be. He funded our trip to India. I am aware that at this point, the cohab/prenup would likely be considered invalid anyway because signing dates are so different, and we're too close to the wedding. I don't know what else to do in that regard. In my province, he is already entitled to half of what I've made during our relationship, simply because we've lived together for 2 years. I didn't know about this until 1.5 years in, hence the request for a cohab agreement at the time. If he had signed on time, I would have been protected in time. I didn't want to force him with a deadline because of the coercion factor. Yep, half of the resentment is him going back on his word, but this is the only situation in 5 years where that's happened. So yeah, the situation is a bit more nuanced and I'm already slightly screwed if we call off the wedding. Are there any other ways to protect myself? Husband, M36, gave me 34. A year to lose weight, fix our dead bedroom situation and get better mentally or he will leave. How do I handle this? We have been suffering from dead bedroom for a few years. I am also in depression and my mental health is not good. I am also overweight and gained quite a bit over the years. Well, we went through 2 rough months recently and he gave me an ultimatum. He is giving me 1 year to fix all of this, or he says he also deserves happiness with someone who loves him, etc. I understand his intentions, but I can't seem to shake the feeling that putting all responsibility to me is not right. Also, if he decides to leave, the blame can be put on me in an instant. I am already having so many mental issues and medicated with self-esteem, fear of loneliness, trust issues, etc., and this ultimatum is not helping me with those. I am not sure what to do. Of course I want to lose weight, work on myself and relationship, but I feel really uncomfortable with this ultimatum. Thank you all for your comments. I realized I am looking at things from wrong window. I need to give him the credit. He has been very communicative about our problems before, so this kind of last resort for him. I genuinely believe he wants to give us a second shot and not mean this as a threat. So now the ball is in my court, and I need to get up and do something about it.